Check, check, check. Big up, everyone. Hope all of you guys are doing good. So, just waiting for Mr. Paley to come through. So yeah, pretty much, we're gonna have to. Where we go?
Hey everybody.
Oh,
Everybody, hey. Hi
hey,
everybody.
what's up?
Hi Jen. Yeah,
Hey, what's up? How
sorry.
you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Sorry, all the viewers and audience. We're having issues with our guest today. We be sure to reschedule as soon as possible. Sorry for the wait and for the anticipation. It was unforeseen circumstances. We're not able to get them right now, but we'll get them for you as soon as possible. We'll break down the whole Mayan calendar. We appreciate all our supporters and all our audience, um, it's a good topic. It's a good thing that we're trying to do with this Mayan calendar. I mean, in the meantime, everybody, there's a lot of resources that you can research about Mayan calendar, so y'all can be ready with your questions for when we do reschedule. So, is a lot of resources online on YouTube. So get your questions, get your everything ready for when we do get them back. We'll trust me. We're gonna do our best to get them back, and we're gonna proceed with this show when we can. Okay, Jen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, unfortunately he couldn't make it. Hopefully we'll get him back. But yeah, I was looking forward to this. There's a lot of stuff, like a whole kind of mystical side that I would have liked to kind of get into. You know, the Mayan cosmology is like so deep, and I noticed in a lot of his videos he would reference Tibet and Tibetan like tantric Buddhism. So there's a lot of questions I have there, and a lot of similarities that I saw, especially with like the bilocation. And yeah, man, I don't know. It was
What's the bilocation? What's that? What's the bilocation?
so a bilocation is what some people call like remote viewing. Um, so bilocation just means you're able to be in two locations at one time, right? So it's a meditative state, where basically you go through a process, and it could take months, months of training, like serious mind and mental like training to catch a glimpse of something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, y- yeah, it's pretty interesting. But there's stories that the Buddha was able to do this. It's one of the like spiritual kind of accomplishments. It's called a siddhi. Um,
Oh,
so
a
there's
Siddhi,
different,
a Siddhi,
yeah, like
in and
SIDDHI in Hinduism
okay,
or
S is
Tantric
S
Buddhism.
is S I what?
DDHI, siddhi.
Okay, 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 okay. So is it related etymologically to sadhu?
Mm,
I know y'all say sadhu, right? Sadhu, right?
sadhu, sadhu. No, sadhu means um, like praises, like
I know.
something
I'm
good.
saying is
No, siddhi
Siddhi.
is like an accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, is it etymologically related? Is it etymologically related? Like for example, in Arabic, if you take away some of the vowels and switch vowels, they all still have the same root, right? But it conjugates differently according to how you switch the vowels in the different formats. So I was just asking, it looks that word would seem it would look like on the surface, even though I'm not an expert on
I would
Sanskrit,
have,
those type of
yeah.
language. It seems like it might be etymologically related. It sounds like it might be etymologically related.
Well, yeah, it might be. I mean, because it's the positive affirmation, or a positive thing, or a city is like an accomplishment. But I would like
And
when I'm
praise,
looking it
right?
up,
But and Sadhu's praise, right? So if CD's accomplishment, Sadhu's praise, I can still see a relation. I might. I'm just saying.
I would have to know someone who knew Sanskrit to be able to match the symbols, because I see the symbols, but I don't. When I look up etymology, it just says Sanskrit and it shows me the symbols. So I would have to know what a root symbol, and if it carried over to the other.
Okay, okay, because it seemed like it, yeah. So yeah, because it was so much when we were not when we were researching this Mayan things. Like it's so much to the Mayan calendar. It's so much to their mythology. It's so much to their creation. They have their own creation stories. I mean, they have a famous one written. I don't want to give away too much now, just because I want to hold stuff for the for we actually have him here. But it's a lot. I mean, they have a cosmology, the stories of how the world was created from the different types of creation, so everybody get your research ready, get so we can have questions for when we get them. We're gonna get them back, and we're gonna do something about this. But yeah, it's so much to Mayan cosmology, and it's so much to the and the thing about it, the Mayans lived in a whole civilization in Mesoamerica with other people, and other people shared the same calendars, not just the Maya. Even the Aztecs and all the other cultures shared it, so they had a civilizational understanding in that region because they
Hmm.
all calculated things very similarly. Now, of course, the Mayans had their own particular one, especially with the long count. I'm not going to get too much into it, but they have their long count one, and there's some other ones too. But it's so complicated when we were trying to study and research the calendars. There's so many different calendars, and they use different calendars simultaneously. So it's a lot of interesting things when it comes to this Mayan culture. Yeah, okay, that's the Mayan area, right? That's the Mesoamerica. Yeah, I'm glad you put that up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
this is
Mesoamerica. Yeah.
empire. Hmm.
Yeah, no, see, the Mayans never really had an empire. See, the Mayans had a culture of like city states, and that's their culture, right? But and they had kingdoms and stuff. I think the Aztecs had more of an empire, but all these people from Mexico, from the Aztecs coming down, they kind of had a similar civilizational understanding because they used, even though they had different languages. Like if you see the Aztec calendars and the Mayan calendars, they have different names and different things, but they're the same calendar. So it's almost like they had a civilization. You know what I'm saying? Where different cultures had
A
were
lot of
using this.
websites I've read is calling it an empire. Like, like look
Who,
at
the
this.
Mayans? The
Yeah. Well,
Mayans. Who?
yeah.
Okay, who was the capital of the Mayan Empire? Who was the? I mean, I
Hold
I, I
on, I'll
never
show
heard of the Mayan Empire.
Hold on, I'll show you. Let me get the right tab. All right. Yeah. Share screen, Chrome tab. Which one is it? This one? Yep. Look, Mayan Empire political map. So,
Yeah, well, I don't know about the Mayan Empire. What is that? What does the orange part say?
so this, yeah, it says the Olmec heartland was up here, and then extent of Maya Empire. So it went all the way to Honduras, and
But I don't say that's an empire because it wasn't a central state. Like I don't know if okay, find the Mayan central state. Go Google just Google Mayan Empire. I'm trying to figure out the central state of Mayan because I never knew them to have an empire. I know there's a culture of people who speak related languages. In all my research, I know about culture of people that had related languages and had multiple states. I didn't know of an empire that encompassed all of the Mayan areas that you could call Maya. I never knew about that. I don't know what this site is
these
getting at, but
these were the different major cities. So the major cities would have been Mayapan, Chichen Itza, which still stands today, Koba. These were all the major cities, and then these were the
okay,
small.
hey, I just want you to Google my empire. Google my empire.
That's what this is, MayaEmpireProject.com. That's what
Yeah,
this literally is. Maya
the,
Empire economic map. Look, it shows
yeah,
you the economics.
Google, like Google my empire, please,
My God. Why don't you trust what I'm showing you? Okay, here we go.
because I don't.
Empire, Maya Civilization, Culture, and Empire, History.com. Where is the Maya Empire today? What destroyed the Mayan Empire? When did the Mayan Empire start and end? Let's do that. Let's read the Wikipedia. Okay. Maya civilization was a Mesoamerican civilization. Is noted for its logo-syllabic script and its most sophisticated, highly developed writing system in pre-Columbian Americas, as well as its art, structure, mathematics, calendar, astronomical system. Um, Let me see. Pre-classic history, persistence of king and court. So they had kings, they had courts. Maya rule
Yeah, I
was
know they had kings
royal
and courts, but I want to
culture.
find the Mayan Empire.
What do you mean you want to find it? I'm showing it to you right here.
Nah, it's kings, but what's the king? What's the central state? I want to find what the state was, and
What do you mean central
okay.
state? I'm saying what the central city is.
It
Like,
wasn't. I don't know
what do
where
you
it
think?
was.
It's one
Okay.
capital, like one capital city?
Oh my God. Oh my God Almighty. No, it's simple. Is go your Mayan civilization. Go to the kings and part. I want to show you. I want to see if it's a central state or is it different city states. That's what I'm trying to see.
Okay, king and court, society,
Yes, go
politics.
to king and courts. Go to king and courts. Exactly where you're on. Go to king and courts. Yes.
Classic Maya rule was centered in a loyal royal culture that was displayed in all areas of classic Maya art. The king was the supreme ruler and held semi-divine status that made him mediator between the mortal realm and that of the gods. From very early times, kings were specifically identified with the young maize god, whose gift of maize, or that's corn, would be the basis of Mesoamerican civilization. Maya royal succession was patrilineal. The royal power only passed to, and royal power only passed to queens when doing otherwise would result in extinction of the dynasty. So they're even mentioning it as
Okay,
a
keep going. Keep going. That's
typically
not. That's
power.
is more than one state. It's a lot of states. So I want to find how was it an empire. That's what I'm trying to read. Just because you have a bunch of states with a bunch of kings, it doesn't mean it's an empire. It's a civilization. But I'm trying to find how it's an empire. That's why I want you to read it. That's the reason.
Okay. Um, the royal heir was called the head youth. Various points in the young prince's childhood were marked by ritual. The most important was a bloodletting ceremony at 5 or 6. Although being of the royal bloodline was the most importance, the heir also had to be a successful war leader, as demonstrated of taking captives. The enthronement of a new king was highly celebratory. All right, that's just talking about that. So, political administration based around royal court was not bureaucratic. Government was hierarchical, and official posts were sponsored by higher ranking members of the aristocracy. Officials tended to be promoted to higher levels of office during the course of their lives. Officials are referred to as being owned by their sponsor, and this relationship continued even after death. The Maya royal court was a vibrant and dynamic political institution. There was no universal structure for the court. Instead, each polity formed a royal court that was suited to
Exactly. Each
individual
polity formed a royal
context.
court. Exactly. Each polity formed a royal court. Now, okay. So start from each polity formed a royal court again. Start from that part.
There was no universal structure for the Maya royal court. Instead, each polity formed a royal court that was suited to its own individual context. A number of royal and noble titles have been identified by epigraphers translating inscriptions. Aja is usually translated as lord or king. In the early classic, Aja was the ruler of a city. Later, increasing social complexity, Aja was a member of the ruling class, and a major city could have more than one ruling over different districts. Paramount rulers distinguished themselves from extended nobility by prefixing the word kuhul to their ajo title. A kohu ajo was divine lord, originally confined to the kings of the most prestigious and ancient royal lines.
Yeah, see, because that's what I'm trying to get at. They had multiple polities. A polity means a state. They had multiple states. I don't know them to have a unified empire. I know they had a civilization, and the civilization spread all over Mesoamerica and even to other cultures that are not necessarily Mayan with different languages. But I don't know them to have a centralized state. I know they have many states. In my research, I never found a centralized Mayan state that covered the entire Mayan areas. They had many multiple city states. And each city state had its own king and own court.
So
In my
did
knowledge,
Rome
that's what.
too?
Well, no, Rome didn't. Rome had one single administration. When Rome was an empire, it had one. It was SQ. What was it? Is SPQR the Senate and the people of Rome, or the Senate and the people? This SQP or whatever the SQPR, whatever it is, the Senate and the people of Rome. It was one state. The Roman Empire was one state. The Mayans were not one state. That's the thing. The Mayans were not one state. I don't know if it to be one state. I've never seen that in my research ever that it was a state. It had multiple states. It had multiple city states. Like some of the city states I was researching. 'Cause I researched all the city states too. Trust me, I did my homework for this. I researched I researched the city states. I'm gonna give you some of the more important ones that let me go to my notes. I'm gonna give you some of the more important ones that 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 made a significant impact in our reading of it because it's certain ones that made a more like for example Quiche. Quiche was one, and Quiche was very important because a lot of our creation myths that got preserved came from the Quiche state. There was another state. What's the other? What was the other state? Another state was what's the P? We want to start with the P. Let me find it for you. Palenque. Palenque was another state. You know, it was another state. So they had many different they had many different they had many different states. You know, but they didn't have a centralized state to my knowledge. I never came across a Mayan empire before. Now there's a Mayan
You cut out. Did you cut out?
hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you
yeah.
hear me? Oh yeah,
Yep.
it probably cut out because I was on a different thing. Anyway, I was on looking at my notes, but no, I mean um there are many there were many different Maya states
Yeah,
and
if they're all, I mean, they're all the same. I don't know.
they're all the same civilization, but I wouldn't call them an empire. They're civilization. Yes, I agree to the Maya civilization, but I wouldn't call it an empire.
Referred to as an empire, like heavily. So, an extensive group
I,
of states or countries under a single supreme authority, formally, especially emperor or empress.
exactly. I never knew Mayans to ever have any supreme authority. That's exactly
Hmm.
the point I'm making. I never knew the Mayans never had that.
Okay. I just don't know why it's like, let me see, locating early. How do I find something in the page? I wish I got to see that when I was down there too. I want to see that Chichen Itza, the pyramids down there. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not a technical one, but it's referred to as one. I thought it was one, but maybe not technically.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said because it
See,
won't be an
even
empire because
history.com refers to it as an empire. Like that, like, I
yeah,
don't
but
know if it's
where's history.com
centered.
is a empire or
Reveal
where's the
power and
capital?
influence. Yeah. See?
In the tropical lowlands. But now keep going. I mean, they're calling it empire, but it's not an empire because who was the central ruler? There was I don't know of a central ruler to the empire. So I mean, I don't know why they call it the civilization, calling it empire nowadays. It's shoddy scholarship. The scholarship is not good. Maybe the scholarship is lower the standards. I don't know. Scholarship might be lower the standards today because I don't know how you would call the Mayans an empire. You might call the Aztec. I mean, I don't know how you call the Mayans an empire. What was their capital? They had no capital. They had no central king. They had a lot of different city states with a lot of different kings. They had no central king. They had no like supreme king or an emperor. I don't know. Try to like the Incas had an empire. The Incas had an empire. The Aztecs had an empire. The Mayans, I never known them in my whole life studying history. I've never known the Mayans to have a central empire ever. I've never known it.
I was gonna see it fits in this list of ones. No, it's not in the list of it. Hmm. Well, we learned something new, people. Hmm.
Yeah, because it's the states that and it never had a central state, as far as I know. That's the thing. So I mean, because they had all these different people. I mean, it's just so much of their culture. It's so much to the different ways they counted months. They had, even the way they counted days. Their numbering system was different. General. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it now because I don't want to spoil some things. But the numbering system was different than our numbering system, and how to
Mhm.
even do the decimals and everything. So it's so much to it. It's so much to it. But yeah. But I just don't know them. I just wouldn't call them an empire. I would call them a civilization. I would definitely call them unless they want to use unless civilization, unless empire is starting to take the place that people used to call civilization. Then yeah, okay. If you want to start defining empire the way we used to define civilizations, then you could say it was an empire. Okay, I would have to agree with that point. But if you're defining it the way I was thinking about empire, as as having some type of central authority, the way Rome was a central capital, no, I never seen them have a central authority. They were multiple city states. There were multiple polities. There wasn't one supreme polity that ruled all the other polities like a capital. They didn't have that. They had different states. I don't know that I've never come across a centralized Mayan power. The Incas had a centralized power. The Aztecs did, to my knowledge. I know the Incas did for a fact because they had Cusco, and everything led to Cusco, and they divided everything into provinces. But I don't know the Mayans having anything equivalent to something like that. So I mean, but still, it's fascinating civilization. There's so much to their civilization, so much to their myths, so much to their place in the native world. They had writing systems, even if it's hieroglyphic and pictographic. They had writing systems, had a lot of different things. So
Mhm.
you know the Mayans. I just don't want to spoil everything for when we get them back. I don't want to spoil every. I don't want. I want to save everything for when we get them, so we could really get into this Mayan culture and this Mayan time. Mayan time, Mayan everything. So Yeah,
Let's see.
they have their own sports, their own everything.
Hmm. Mm, wait, let me open it up on a new window. I want to show this picture real quick. Let me see if I can find it again. Come on, open.
Yeah, I see. Everybody in the chat. Hey, sorry, everybody. We had to reschedule. Sorry, Shifa. Shifa too. I friended you on Discord. So accept my friend request on Discord, Shifa, so we could talk. All right, Shifa. I mean, I sent you a friend request on Discord. Accept my friend request, Shifa. So what's up? So but everybody yeah, yeah. Coach Love, I know you want to know about the daily life of Mayans. I mean, we have to ask him when we come and tell us what the daily life was for Mayans. I mean, I don't know everything about the daily life for Mayans now, but I know some things. But when we bring him back, when we get him, we'll talk about the daily life for Mayans. We'll talk about the daily life because I don't really know the daily life. I know some things, but that's why he was here, But yeah,
So this one picture breaks down like everything, what all the symbols mean on a calendar, right? It's crazy. If you look at this and then
yeah, Shifa. I just want to let you know, Shifa. I know you can't late Shifa yet because we had to reschedule Shifa. I'll let you know that the guy didn't come. I'm sorry. The guy we having some issues. We'll reschedule and get him back. The native the Mayan Timekeeper. So he's not gonna be here today. We'll get him ASAP and then we'll put a new notification up when we able to get him. We're sorry about that, everybody who came out.
yeah. So this is what I want to ask him about. You know what I'm saying? You seeing it? Like
Yeah, I
it's,
mean,
and this is called the Kala chakra is called literally wheel of time. I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
people kept time. Okay, okay. If you look at a zodiac, they still have a will too. So if you look at time, okay, one big thing about time in the Mayan culture is that, or the Mesoamerican in general, is that people always say that it's cyclical. Is they based on cycles, right? But they did have a long count too. They had a long count too. They had a linear and they had a secular. They had a long count. So they had multiple calendars operating, right? But even in our culture, we still have cyclical calendars to a certain. I mean, you have to understand. Most calendars are going to be somewhat secular anyway because they all revolve around rotations, right? Because look at it, the solar year is a one rotation around the sun, right? A month is usually built around one rotation around the moon. Of course, it depends if it's based on the sun or the moon because some people expand it or whatever. But loosely speaking, our calendars and the way we look at time are based around the rotations of astrological bodies. Our Earth itself is an astrological body that goes around every single day in a circle, right? So is like so all time, though, as we know it, started from cyclical calculations. If you want to look at it from its astronomical basis.
So why doesn't it make sense that everything is cyclical then?
What we mean doesn't make sense. You mean it doesn't make? I mean, I'm trying to. I don't get. I don't get. I don't get the question.
So why wouldn't everything be cyclical then?
But it kind of is like every year we go through cycles, right? We go through winter, fall, winter, fall. What else? What's other season? Spring, summer, right? We go through
Hmm.
those every year, right? Would you consider that cyclical?
Of course,
Would you consider every day cyclical, going from the night to the night to the day to the night back again?
100%.
Would you consider every moon with every month, with every moon, from the new moon to the half moon to the quarter moon to the whatever moon to the waning moon to the waxing moon? Would that be also cyclical?
All of that. Yep, yep.
So all time is cyclical. I mean, I don't see how our time isn't cyclical too. I mean, I think all time, because even if you look at it even from the zodiac, even the zodiac is a circle and has all the different signs, and you look through all the things. So, I mean, all time to me is cyclical. It goes in cycles. I mean, to me, all
That's
time
just
goes in
for
cycles.
time, not for space, right?
What
Or
you said?
is it just for time, or does that include time, space, or just space, or not space, but just time? So only time is cyclical, but not space.
I don't know what space is. Space is emptiness, right?
Space
What's
time,
space?
like matter, like things in space time.
I gotta understand the space time continuum. That's a whole quantum physics. That's a whole space time continuum thing. Now you want to get into space time continuum? Okay, I don't know. that's a
I
whole,
think it's
that's
just matter, right? Like time, like space is matter. Like so, things that occupy
no,
space,
space is not
matter.
okay. Space okay. Okay, you have outer space. Okay, maybe yes.
No,
Okay,
not
okay.
not space in that sense, like outer space. I mean, like
You mean
things
volume
that
then? You
can.
mean anything that occupies volume?
Yeah, but they call it things in space time. So things that correlate to space time would be like me looking at my laptop right now. My laptop exists in space time.
Okay, your laptop exists in space time, right?
Hmm.
So now, what is the significance of that? Your laptop exists in space time. Okay, so tell me again the thing. What's the
So
significance? Let me see.
if time is goes in cycles, right? How come that wouldn't apply to space as well?
I mean, the space. I don't know what space time is really. I have to look up what space time is.
All
Okay,
right.
let's see what space time is.
Yeah. So
What is space time? Let me go to Scientific America or whatever. Let me see what's sign.
okay, in physics, space-time is any mathematical molecule which fuses the three dimensions of space and the one dimension of time into a single four-dimensional um where is it? Four-dimensional manifold. Space-time diagrams can be used to visualize relativistic effects such as why different observers perceive differently where an events occur. Um let me see. What is space-time? So it's the three dimensions, right? Three-dimensional objects with the fourth combined with the fourth element of time is space time. A simple here we go. A simple explanation of space time. Livescience.com. A fabric of space time is a conceptual model combining three dimensions of space with a fourth dimension of time. According to the best current physical theories, space time explains unusual relativistic effects that arise from traveling near the speed of light as well as the motion of massive objects in the universe.
I mean, I'm looking at some Einstein and everything in the curve. I don't know. Maybe that's why everything. That's why all those objects tend to be in circles. Maybe because of space time and the curving of the warping of everything might be the reason why everything acts like turns into a circle in space. But then again, that could just because of gravity. It's a lot of things. I mean, I'm not a physicist. I'm not an astrophysicist. So, but.
Me neither.
I'm not a physicist, so but no, but I would like to know it. I would like to know. I mean, that probably could be a reason because if you look at the curving of the space time and how it curves and trajectories, it could be a reason why bodies in space end up being like a circle. 'Cause I know it has something to do with gravity as well. But if you put gravity and space time together, we just get all these circles and all these satellites. So it could be a thing where that could be a thing. We could do a project on space time. Say what is space time? We're gonna figure out what space time is one day. Say what is space time? What is space time? Because remember last time
So
we did other thing. We was doing quantum physics the other day. The other time, remember we did a whole quantum physics.
so if it would apply to time, right? Like say it applies to space too, that would just mean that the things that we occupy or the space that we occupy um, is a cycle, right? So our life would be a cycle, like death and rebirth. That's the whole point, like of where I'm trying to get at with it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a
I mean, that's
cycle.
your
So
point,
why
but
wouldn't everything else be secular as well? If everything in this our observance is like goes in cycles of birth and death, then
well, it depends. See, look, that's time, right? We calculating time. Now we have a reason why we're calculating time, right? We have a reason why we're calculating time because we want to know seasons and stuff like that. But we calculate time through our bodies, but it don't have to necessarily be okay. Like for example, one of the what one of the calendars they use the long count that was linear. The long count was linear.
mhm,
They use both. They use the cyclical ones and the long count because the cyclical ones it messed up because okay, for if you were talking about short periods and things and different significant periods and short periods of times and like regular seasons, uh, the cyclical could work. But once you want to, but once the kings wanted to know something longer and keep long histories, they needed the linear time. So they had both. They had both. They had when you study it, we studied it. They had both. They had like two different cyclical ones, and then to add on top of that, they had the linear long count.
mm.
You know,
But wasn't the long count still positioned in a shape of a circle?
no, it wasn't. The long count wasn't in a circle. The long count was supposed to end. That's why everybody was saying the world was going to end. When in 2012, that was when the long count was supposed to end. The long count was. That's the whole point. That's why the long count got everybody thinking the world was about to end because the long count didn't have a cyclical. Wasn't cyclical. The long count was linear.
All right, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, the long count was linear. I don't want to spoil too much for the next time because we're gonna make it. We're gonna make the guy explain to us the long count. The long
Yeah.
count was linear. They
Mm,
used both. They still needed a linear calendar if they wanted to do long histories. If they wanted to know about long histories, they had to make a linear calendar for that, right? But for short periods of time, they used the cyclical ones.
that's crazy.
But they also, and things were important, and see, yeah, because they were observers of the suns. They were observers of because everything had solar and lunar thing. That's why, you know, even in December when they was supposed to end, that was along the winter. So it's not. I mean, I was getting confused because I was getting two different dates. I was getting some people saying December 21st, some people were saying December 24th. I'm trying to figure out exactly because and think about it because a lot of people are not even certain where it starts. I mean, they have a date, but I heard it's still a controversy. So I wanted him to to set the record straight. What's the exact date that was supposed
Yeah,
to
because
end, and
I
what
know
was the date?
like Western interpretations and like people were interpreting it as to like with the way that like the Western people keep time, like how we would, and they were trying to apply that to back then because they were trying to like they were thinking of it as like a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock like we have. But that's what I don't know. I read somewhere about some Western people trying to interpret it and making them mistakes, and trying to kind of impose their version of time onto the calendar. Oh, yeah, but I think the numbers is crazy too, and that was another thing I wanted to ask him because they're heavy with the numbers, like 333 444. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to ask him about my little 1111 thing that I got going on and what that would what he thinks about that. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah, hopefully he'll come through. If not, then I'll have to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so much Mayan history, so much that
Yeah,
to talk about. There's so much to talk about when you talk about the Mayans. There's so much to talk about. There's so much, everybody. So everybody, hey, thanks for coming out. We came out. We're sorry that um we couldn't get this. Sorry that we couldn't get our guests. He couldn't, but we'll try to get him as soon as possible. We're sorry that things didn't work out the way, but it's so much, and then and a lot of things you gotta understand too, like and there's also other parts of Mayan history besides just the calendar. They had the already talked about the creation myths a little bit. They had different things, and we will talk about the whether it's true or not, whether how much we'll talk about the sacrificing and things like that. We got to know, is it true? Because I know people have seen things like apocalypto and things like that, right? So
yeah, that's what they have in their head, like when they think Mayan, civilization and stuff. That's the stereotypes that people have. Like they think they're all sitting on top of pyramids chopping heads off. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there was way
yeah,
more
that's
than
what
that.
they think. So we want to get to the bottom of that. I don't want to spoil it, but we want to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah. But I think all these, like ancient North American things had like great effects on how we do things, even models of the government and stuff like that. Like they seem like they had, like the model of government that we have now. Like there's presidents, you know what I'm saying? They run their stuff like
Yeah, I
I think
mean, I don't know too
they
much about the Mayan
contributed.
polities. The Mayan polities, if they did the same thing, because the Mayans had, they had the royal courts and things like that, and they told you how they did it. They had their royalty, and then the royal family. So I don't know. They had the Mayans were. I don't know the Mayans to be as Republican as we were. Like like the North Americans, the Iroquois, they had a more Republican, Confederate type of, with the Iroquois Confederacy, they had a Confederate way. But I don't know the Mayans of having that thing. Like the Mayans had city states with kings in every city state. I mean, they had a civilization, but they didn't. I don't think they had any type of unified political order. That's the thing. They had a civilization, but every city seems to be autonomous. Seem to me to be all the different polities seem to be autonomous. They weren't under one government. So it's so the natives had different ways. I mean, different cultures, different regions had different polities. They weren't all the same.
Mm. So you don't think that whole area was like on the same like culture or
Okay, the Mesoamericans had the same culture, but not all of North America. Like the if you're talking about
No, I'm talking about just the Mayan where they were.
oh, they had yeah, I would think they would have the same, very similar cultures. No, but even them had different cultures because even when I was researching, because they said because some of the mythologies are different in different Mayan states a little bit. Okay, they had a very similar language. All the Mayans spoke a very similar language, but they had, of course, a small dialect. Like every town, they'll speak a little bit differently. You know what I'm trying to say? The dialects would be a little bit different, but they were like close and mutually intelligible. And they had roughly the same culture, but I don't think it was exactly the same. Like they weren't really unified into one political order. So okay. First and foremost, that's one thing. Every state had different gods because every state would add gods and they would just add things. So every state kind of had its own pantheon. Of course, they probably had some universal things that were consistent with all them states, right? But every state had their own little heroes and little pantheons they would add on to the general pantheon of the whole Mayan culture. That was one thing I researched. They did do that. They had different states did have a different sets in their pantheons.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
sketchy.
So
Can I post a video? What ask Eddie, the video on racism? We're not talking about racism, man. I don't
hey,
want to talk.
Getty's not a serious person. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go there, man. Like I'm tired of all that. It's too much. It's all anybody's just. It's all.
Yeah, Getty's a troll. You have to remember. You remember, Getty's a troll. Getty, you're not a serious person. Getty, don't come here with some nonsense today, please.
He's all right. I mean, he could do his things. You know, I don't got no hate for the dude, but I'm not on that race baiting topics, man. I'm done. Like I can't. I
That's
can't.
all he does is do race baiting. That's the whole stick.
It's too much. Like it's just every single aspect of everything is all have to be about race and race. It's like,
That's
dude,
why I say he's not a serious person. That's why I say that's
but
his
it's not
stick
just
for.
him though. It's a lot of people,
But
man.
that's
It's
but that's
everything
what
is
he's
all
coming to do.
race all the time. Like, oh my god, like I'm just I'm over it. Mhm. People are always. I feel like always, no matter from the beginning of time to this world dies, somebody's going to be treated unfairly somehow, and it's just it sucks. But I mean, I just it's like as long as there's people that are richer than us, then you know, poor people are always going to get fucked. It's just how it is. There's just nothing no one can do to change it except for try to be rich. That's it, you know? Otherwise, it's like, I don't know, you could spend your life miserable trying to figure out what to do, or you could try to make the best out of every day, and live how you want to. So,
Okay, yeah. Anyway. So everybody, thanks for coming out. Sorry we didn't have the person. It's cool. I'm cool now. Everybody, yes. So we'll try to bring the guy back as soon as possible. Everybody.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'd probably call it quits. I don't know, I might pop off a live stream tomorrow, just to open panel or something. It's probably rant about a couple things, see if anyone wants to jump on. So, all right. Well, big up everyone. Well, hopefully we'll be able to reschedule, and if not, we'll keep looking for other interesting random people for random topics. Talk about random things. So,
Okay, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
all
Peace
right. Big
out.
up everyone in the chat that came through. Big up Coach Love, Mark Smith, Muhammad Hamdan, Unpopular, Shifa, Askedi. Big up y'all. Be safe. Wolf. Big up Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf. We're sorry. We're sorry, Wolf. Our guest couldn't make it today. We're gonna try to reschedule it. Our guest couldn't make it. We're sorry about that, Wolf.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys. Big up. Everyone have a good night, yeah?
Okay, okay. Peace out.